Coming to you from Rockingham, IPL Radio.
And it's just turned 4 p.m. You're here with SD for Talking Sport. We've just been speaking to Fazman over in Queensland. He's over there for a family gathering. So I'm running solo today, but I'm not alone because I have a guest in the studio. So our next guest was recently elected to the WA Legislative Assembly as the Labor member for Rockingham after the recent by-election. She was born and bred in Rockingham and is reported to love her sport. So please welcome Magenta Marshall to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and for the opportunity to introduce myself to your audience, particularly about something I'm so passionate about, which is sport, and something that's, been a big part of my life growing up here in Rockingham.
So we, like most Aussies, as you said, you do love your sport. So we thought having you on Talking Sport would be a great introduction to our listeners and a way for us to introduce you to IPL Radio as well. So, and a good chance to get to know you beyond the campaign trail, which would be quite nice. So, what sports did you play growing up? Where did it all start for you?
Well, I was raised in a pretty sports-mad family, so I was encouraged to pursue whatever it was I was interested in. I started out at the Rockingham District's Little Athletics in Coolangatta, and I have very fond memories doing that, but I remember that I was often getting disqualified for the power walk. I couldn't quite keep slow enough for that. Wasn't good at that. And so I then left and did hockey for a season with the Rockingham Redbacks until unfortunately I saw someone get hit in the face with a ball and I saw the blood nose and I just thought,
it's pretty rough, that game.
It is, yeah. I still watch it and kind of cringe when I see the hockey roos play and think, it's just such a hard ball and they smack it so hard. And then I played many netball seasons at Mike Barnett Sporting Complex growing up, and I was a wing attack or wing defence, which is usually where you put your worst players. So.
Well, hang on a minute, that's where I was. No, not at all, not at all. I couldn't shoot for my life, so it was.
No, neither, and I'm really short. I'm so short, so I was just put there. And then I think I was about 12 or 13. I ended up playing soccer at Rockingham City Football Club and played in the mixed league with the boys and girls, and I really loved it. And then from there I started a team with my dad as coach, just for girls, me and my friends, and haven't really stopped playing since.
That's fantastic. So obviously big news at the moment, the Matildas and the World Cup. How did you find the World Cup this year?
It was so inspiring. I thought it's such a privilege, to think that young girls growing up in Australia now get to look at that and to dream even bigger than what, we possibly could have. So I just feel really inspired that young girls and boys, I've heard boys now dreaming of being Matildas as well. I think it's been great for putting us on the world map and has really changed, I think, the nature of sport in Australia. Yeah, no,
it's brilliant. And did you have a chance to catch some of the Netball World Cup from Johannesburg? Did you see any of that?
I watched a little bit. Really, obviously proud of Australia there, but I didn't.
It's a bit harder to get the coverage, I think, of that event. But the girls did well over there as well. So lots happening with Australian sport right now.
We're doing pretty well.
We are
across the codes. I don't know if you saw today, or you probably did. Nina Kennedy and the pole vault.
The pole vault. Yeah, sharing the gold.
Wow.
I'll be telling the audience about it a little bit. Like, no, it was not at all. We talked about it in the intro today, but really exciting picking up a gold there, and we've got a silver too. So
we feel pretty unstoppable.
We're doing a bit of a powerhouse, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So going back to your local sport, you are a member of the Bow Divers Football Club and have been for a little while. Can you tell us about the various hats you have had and do have at the club?
Yeah. So when I stopped playing football for a little bit while I was in university because I had to work hospitality on weekends, and when I got my first full-time job in 2017, I was really keen to start playing football again, could commit to Sundays, world football. And so I started a team at Bow Divers Districts with my friends, and we started our senior women's team then. And to begin with, it was really social. It was about getting back on the pitch for a lot of us. We'd had a few years off, also a lot of first-time players who just wanted to participate in a local team and to make friendships. So it was really great. I found mentally at the time, finding a way to connect with people my age again and, create meaningful friendships and memories. And since then, we've done really well. We've been promoted up many leagues, and I was really proud to captain us to winning the league in 2021. And then unfortunately last year I did my ACL in December. So I'm currently recovering from surgery, and just it takes a long time to recover from an ACL, unfortunately. So I'm currently just an assistant coach and youth mentor for the senior women's team, which means that I still can find a bit of time for that on a Sunday afternoon, running the line up and down on the side, which I actually really enjoy. I think if I can't be on the pitch as part of the 11 players, then I feel like I'm the 12th player there on the sideline, calling those offsides. But over the years at the club, I've been involved in the committee as a committee member, helping with events and fundraising and things like that. But one of the best moments, I think, at the club was, or the proudest memories I have, is the 2 years I spent as a coach for the All Abilities League. So the Manchester United Foundation created the United Reds League here in WA in partnership with Football West and Inclusion Solutions. And that was in 2019, I believe. No, it was 2020. Sorry, it was the year of COVID, because it had a really poor start because of
it's funny how we associate time now with that period of life. I know.
COVID, but that basically was a league for kids of all abilities to be able to play, and our club in Baldivis was the only one south of Vic Park. So we had players from particularly Malibu, Kurana, and Baldivis, so that kind of local area of Rockingham, Warnbro and Baldivis playing. And it was just great to see those kids get to kick a ball around and make friendships and memories that they hadn't really had the opportunity to before. So for a lot of those kids with disabilities, it was, potentially neurodisabilities that meant maybe they didn't feel comfortable in such a loud, noisy environment in those other teams. Or we even, one of the other clubs had a child with albinism, so for them seeing was really difficult. So when we played that team, it was an orange ball with a whistle in it. So, a whistle, so it made a noise when it was kicked around, and,
that's
and they
fantastic.
could participate. So simple solutions that just meant more kids got to experience the thrill of community sport, which was really, it was really great.
And you mentioned earlier how coming out of university, getting back into sport was a great way for you to get in contact again with people of your own age, because people move on after uni and you lose. Life changes, doesn't it? I remember those days. And so you mentioned that it was a really good opportunity to reconnect and get part of the community again. And then you've, of course, spoken about your role in the All Abilities team. What is it, do you think, about sport that is so important to mental health and well-being and just overall well-being?
Yeah. It's I feel like it's really hard to define with sport what it is that makes it so great for people to connect, but I think it just brings people together and gives people that shared purpose and motivation towards a goal. And for me, I'm very competitive, and I love that, and I love moving my body and being athletic. I love the feeling of, after a really tough game or knowing I gave it my all and then I'm buggered and I need to go sit on the couch for a few hours. But I think in terms of, for other people, like with the All Abilities League, it was great to see kids have the opportunity to participate and to, make friendships, make those memories, and to, score goals or learn how to lose also, I think is important.
Absolutely.
For kids. And sometimes, learn how to play with players that, might not be of your ability, and learn to also be a leader and to help coach them as well. And so, I find that's the fun part of coaching, and is seeing those connections between the kids and the, friendships and, lessons that they figure out on their own. And
you would see a different person at the other end of the season?
Yeah. So I coached for the 2 inaugural seasons. That was, 2020, 2021, and then I stopped coaching last year. And this year, one of the kids who was in that team, who it was his first time playing, he's now aged out because I think it's 8 to 12-year-olds, I believe, from memory. And he's aged out and is now an assistant coach to that team. So he's giving back again to that team. So it's just...
Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, and that's a really interesting age group because they're small at 8, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then...
there's some really small ones.
Yeah, and then by 12, some of them are like, okay, you're going to overtake me now.
Yeah.
You know, you're like that, because I used to do scouts, and that was the age group I did. It was sort of that age group, and I'm just like, by the end of it, they're just
it's hard, isn't it?
Little to
taller than you.
You know, young little adults. You know, so really exciting. And so going to a broader picture, Labor has pledged $10 million for the upgrade of the Mike Barnett Sports Complex.
Yep.
How do you see that going to be working, do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a really exciting announcement to get to make during the campaign. And for me, it kind of started before I came along as the candidate. So Mark had done a bit of work with the club earlier in the year when they said that they were at capacity, and just timed well that they'd organised a meeting with the minister and the department during the campaign, and I was able to then go along and to kind of advocate for that funding. But when we met with the President Warren of the Flames there, the basketball club, they said that they had 400 kids on their wait list and that don't get to play basketball because of, they're at capacity, and the Mike Barnett Sporting Complex hasn't changed since I played there growing up. You know, they've had some temporary fixes with, resurfacing of courts and lights and all that stuff. But in terms of size, it hasn't grown the indoor capacity. So for me, it was really sad to think that kids are missing out on playing sport, given how passionate
that's a big wait list, isn't it? That's a lot of people. And they're not kids for long either, are they?
No,
and they change their mind and they want to explore different things.
Keeping them busy, occupied, and, as we've talked about, giving them that opportunity to play community sport is important. So I was really proud to be able to make that commitment. So it's the first, it's kind of divided into two. So $2 million is towards roof repairs and fixing some issues with the stadium currently, and then $8 million is towards the project to build another 4 courts. So it's not fully funded project yet, but the Basketball WA and there's a few other people who are able to contribute. So I'm looking forward to working with them to getting that kind of off the ground hopefully soon, and to be able to get to work on that. Basketball isn't something I've ever played growing up. It's not a sport I'm as familiar with, although I watched a couple games when I went to America a few years ago. But I went along to a Flames game during the course of the campaign, and I just thought that the way they connect their juniors and seniors and the environment, like the community spirit they've created there, it's really incredible. Like I said, I've been involved in a few sports, and I've never really seen that harmony between juniors and seniors, where the juniors come along and watch the seniors game. It doesn't.
It's really nice to see that, isn't it? Because they're getting mentorship almost, and healthy role models, and that's fantastic to hear.
Yeah, healthy role models, and something that they can envision for their own future. It's, playing. It's in Rockingham. It's where they live. It's down the road from them, and they could potentially be playing on a Friday night to a crowd of hundreds of people.
Well, I could let you in on a little secret. I tried basketball when in high school, and I was too rough. I was too rough. I kept getting pulled up all the time, so I was I gave that one up. I was a bit of a netballer. But every year I would twist the ankle, as many of us do, because they didn't have it was only the one step when I was, back in my day. And so it was a little bit hard on the joints. Now, you've obviously covered a lot of different sports. Is there one you'd still like to try?
I always think I would like to try AFL. But the problem with AFL, or not the problem, but the issue is it's at the same time of year as a winter sport like football. So, that's one I don't know particularly much about AFL. I grew up in more of a soccer family. So it's not, something I particularly even watch that often. My husband Jake does. He's a Eagles fan. I'm Dockers. But so it's off and on a weekend. But I would love the opportunity to play it, but haven't been able to. I also think rugby. I'm a defender in soccer, so I'm a tackler. So I like contact sports. So probably no good at basketball.
No, well, I'm a massive fan of rugby, and I've been really excited about how well women's rugby is progressing. In fact, my niece is in the under-18s for England.
Wow. wow.
which is pretty exciting. She lives over there. Yeah, so it's really, really exciting. But I've actually been enjoying women's rugby more than the men's rugby lately because I just think the game and the quality and the enthusiasm they've got, because it's still very new, is really exciting.
Yeah.
But,
I haven't watched too much women's rugby, but I should. Yeah.
Well, it's hard because, it's still growing. Thankfully, with New Zealand hosting the last World Cup, they got a lot more momentum behind them. And that was really their first big World Cup, I think, in the women's space. And I think that's really sort of set the scene now for future competition. So I suspect that we'll see more, and especially in the top end of the world, up the, I was going to say south, dearie me, up north.
Up north.
There's a lot of investing in that area. So, I think it's going to be exciting times ahead.
Yeah.
So, it
is exciting because obviously with the Women's World Cup recently, that's given, girls, the opportunity to dream of playing that. But I'm not sure if you probably have, given your sports mad, but Sam Kerr, how she originally played AFL and was told, there's not really a future in that. You should play football, soccer, because there's more opportunity there. So the more we could, platform these different sports and show girls that, they can do whatever it is that they want to do. The men get the opportunity, so we should as well. So that's really exciting to hear.
Yeah, no, I think so. Well, we might carry on that conversation. Yep. We'll just go to a quick song, but stay tuned, listeners. We're here with Magenta Marshall from the Labor Party. We're just going to go to Real to Real with I Like to Move It. Stay tuned.
Coming to you from Rockingham, IPL Radio.
And we are back. It's just gone 4:19, and you're listening to I Like to Move It by Real to Real, the Mad Stuntman and Eric Morillo. But we are here with Magenta Marshall from the Labor Party and our local member here in Rockingham. But we've been talking sport, haven't we?
It's been great.
We have been. And before the break, we were talking about women's sport. I read an article recently about how females are hitting a particular age, sort of their teenage years, and then they tending to, there's a massive decline in participation, sort of drops off. You're a little bit younger than I am, and do you sort of have any insight, and of course because you've worked with youth as well, why that might be?
Yeah, that's a tricky one and a disappointing statistic. I assume it's because I would assume that previously it's because pathways haven't necessarily been there for women. I know when I stopped playing soccer, it was, I think, my first year of university, because I got a hospitality job and needed to work on weekends. And as much as I loved soccer, it didn't really seem like there was any opportunity to go any further. I was playing in my local senior women's team, even though I was 17. And it seemed like that was it for me. That was the ceiling. Whereas I guess for men, and that's 10 years ago now. But, so hopefully things are starting to change for women. But for Jake, my husband at the time, he, there were state leagues for men, then NPL, Glory. There was a lot more opportunity.
The pathway was clearer, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I'd like to think that, by investing in women's sport, as we have been, and as I think even this week the federal government announced more money for change rooms for women and girls, which I think just, having that sense of value, like you're contributing, is really important. And I know that when I was playing, often we'd be given hand-me-down kits from the men, or you'd be on the terrible pitch over there that was full of mud, and even though potentially you're in a higher league than your boys, but you were over there, you didn't have change rooms. So I think by giving women that clearer pathway, as you said, but also that investment to show that what they're doing is valuable, and that there are those opportunities out there that hopefully could help alleviate that. It's upsetting to think that.
Yeah, I think naturally in the teenage years, of course, you've got a few other interests,
distractions, of course,
potentially. But I
but
think
so do the boys.
They do. But I think you're probably spot on there with in terms of pathways. Certainly, it was just assumed when I finished my high school that was it, really, unless you went on. I just figured it was that or you're elite. Yeah. And there was sort of no in between. No in between. But things are definitely changing, and the Labor Party are definitely behind that as well, of course, which is exciting.
Yeah. It's good to see that investment. I know this week they announced the doubling of the kids sport vouchers, which isn't obviously just for women, but that's for any kids. I think the eligibility is 5 to 18, and there's a bit of eligibility requirements around parents and income levels, and I think having access to a healthcare card. But for those people who are potentially disadvantaged because their parents might not be able to afford the fees, given rising cost of living expenses, I think it's really good to see that they're making access to sport a priority, because I know when I coached, a lot of kids on the team required that kids sport funding to be able to pay for their fees, and by doubling it, it means that they're going to be able to continue to play, given I think a lot of clubs and expenses have gone up, so fees for participation are going up, but also the new kids sport voucher eligibility criteria goes towards equipment and also uniforms, so that
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so if previously kids had to pay for their own socks and shorts and potentially even shirt and boots, and now that can be covered by it as well, which I think will help families, particularly given there's definitely a bit of a pinch on budgets around at the moment. Yeah, no,
I think it's a great program. I've seen it work exceptionally well as well, and I'm definitely giving it the thumbs up here from talking sport, and it's fairly easy to find information about it as well. If pretty much you can Google it, can't you?
Yeah, it's really helpful. I even had a question today on my Facebook page about it, someone saying oh no, I literally just got my funding last week, and I thought, oh no, maybe I'll ask the minister's office if they need to, if they're able to access the extra $150, but I just went onto the website and it was really clear as day that you can, so it's, there's a lot of helpful information there.
Yeah, so absolutely everyone, if you are interested in the kids sport information, finding out about more, head onto the website, just type in kids sport, and you'll easily find it there, and it's a pretty easy process to step through. The guidelines are quite clear, and you can potentially get some assistance to help with costs for your young people to enjoy sport, which is fantastic. So I know that you're in recovery mode at the moment, but given your new position, do you think that you're still going to have enough time for sport?
It's a bit of a challenge, more so given how unpredictable my calendar can be with evening events. So I do feel guilty that I haven't been to a training session for my team in a few weeks. Granted, the last few weeks have been cancelled because of the Matildas and other World Cup games, and I think that is important training, watching.
Yes, fair enough.
But I couldn't go last night because of an event, so but I really am trying to prioritise those Sunday afternoons. There are only 4 left of the season, so our game's at 1 p.m, so if I can block out that afternoon, that's really important to me. I also do CrossFit, so that's how I'm able to exercise myself at the moment, because I can't play football, and that's at 6 a.m. on weekdays. So there are a few days a week where I can't go if I've got an early start at 9 a.m. and I can't have the sweaty hair and the red face, because it takes me a while to cool down. But that's another way I'm able to participate, to play sport. Or sometimes I just go for a run or a walk. We've got some beautiful coasts, beautiful parks around in Rockingham, so that's another nice way to move my body and listen to the local podcast, listen to podcasts or music, and get that distraction and clear head.
And that was going to be sort of leading into my next question about what do you believe are the benefits for you now as a working adult who's got a very busy and quite unpredictable schedule. What do you think are the benefits of maintaining a good level of health and fitness?
Yeah, I think, separate to just the physical benefits of, feeling strong and healthy and all that, it's the distraction is definitely a good thing. Most of the time, as I said, when I'm going to soccer, I'm doing the line, and that's almost 90 minutes uninterrupted, just focused on the team. Sometimes I'll put my phone on do not disturb even, but I'm not really paying it attention anyway, but just so it doesn't buzz in my pocket, and I can switch off from all that and just focus on the 90 minutes and the girls and the result in front of me. And that's quite easy at the moment because we are doing quite well. My team is top of the ladder. So
hey, well done. Congratulations.
Nice. Only by 2 points. So it's between us and Mandurah. So
righty-o.
4 games left.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, Fazman and I went and watched the grand final of the Rams netball, and that was just incredible. It was amazing to watch. So, nothing like local sport, I think. It's really special.
It is.
Yeah, really, really special.
You can lose yourself in it. And in any sport, I think you're probably similar to me that can watch any game and even if you don't particularly know all the rules, I can still find
I've been learning about cricket this year because I don't mind the old 2020, but the Fazman and a couple of our regular people who call in have been got me behind the Ashes, and I got into that this year, and surprisingly it was quite good. And then the Fazman, who hadn't been involved in a lot of netball, got him along, and he's now converted. So it's good fun. And one of the things that we do get behind here on Talking Sport is the Special Olympics, and the WA Special Olympics is coming up next month, and there's going to be events all around venues in Perth. Do you think you might get along to one or two or see what that's all about?
Yeah, I would. It's important to me that we have participation, accessible participation for people of, all abilities. So I would love to get along to any. Are there any you recommend or any you're going to?
Well, there's all sorts. Well, we hopefully we're looking to do some coverage of the weekend and perhaps put a little package together for them. But I would quite like to get to the swimming.
Yeah.
And they do.
I love swimming.
They do ballroom dancing as well. They do a dancing, and one of my old Scouts' sisters is actually she has autism, and she'll be competing, and so I quite like to get along and have a bit of a watch. Yeah. But also up in Joondalup, they're going to be having 10-pin bowling. So I thought that might be a bit of a fun one to go and see as well. So I think there's 16 sports all up.
Yeah.
So it'll be a good event, good weekend.
Hopefully I'll see you at one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Look for the girl with the crazy red hair. Oh, gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been fantastic. Congratulations once again on your appointment. We certainly hope to get to know you more here at IPL and give you a chance give our listeners a chance to get to know you as well and to talk about all the wonderful things that you'll be doing for us here in Rockingham in the years to come. But I do have one more question I have to ask you. Yes. Do you follow AFL? A little bit? Do you have a team? Do you have a team?
I do.
What's your team?
The Dockers.
Oh, rightio. Okay.
I'm sorry, is that
no? That's no. It's okay. You're allowed. No, I'm sure there'll be plenty of listeners in. Well, it makes sense. You're in WA. Yeah. Makes sense.
They were established the year I was born.
Oh,
and
perfect.
So there's pictures of me as a baby in Dockers gear.
Oh, I love it.
So it just felt natural and living south of the river, just felt like, that was probably my team. But I'm probably the worst fan. Like, I very rarely watch it, only if Jake's got it on the TV. But I can watch it if it's in front of me. It's just not something
you've got so many other bits and pieces you're doing and involved in your own sport. But a huge thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Been great to get to know you, and we certainly hope you'll come back again and perhaps try another show and talk about different things. Yep. And you're, of course, welcome back anytime.
Thank you for having
you very much.
Yeah, I look forward to working with you again.
Thank you. Well, everyone, that was Magenta Marshall, our local member for Rockingham. We're just going to go to a quick song and then we'll be back for some more Talking Sport. But for now, here's a bit of Linkin Park to keep you entertained.